This is a representation of the bottom of Lake Minnewaska before scientists core it. So, as you can see at the bottom, there's 4 pine pollen grains and only 1 oak pollen grain. And at the top, it's a reverse, similar to, as you will see in the future, mohawks. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 oak pollen grains and only 1 pine pollen grains. So over time, there was definitely a decrease in pine pollen grains and an increase in oak pollen grains. There was an increase from, at the beginning, there was 43.71% abundance of pine, and then at the end, there was only 6.09% abundance of pine. And for oak, at the beginning, there was 14.37% abundance of oak, and at the end, there was 36.22% abundance, and at its top, there was 45.53% abundance, which is a lot. And hemlock was also increasing. At the bottom, there's absolutely no hemlock pollen grains, and at the top, there's 3. Hemlock started at 2.10%, and it ended at 31.41%. That's a big increase. And even though hickory isn't represented here because the scale, it was too small to fit into the scale, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't an increase. Hickory started at 0% abundance, and at the end, it was 2.39% abundance. And at the end, I mean closer to today. This is a representation of the sediment at the bottom of Mohawk Lake before scientists core it. So if you look at the bottom, there's a lot of pine tree pollen, which is represented by the blue pollen, and there's only 1 oak tree pollen compared to the reversed 4 oak tree pollens and 1 pine tree pollen. Over time, the pine tree pollen has decreased from 43.78% abundance to only 9.39% abundance in Lake Mohawk. And at the beginning, there was only 11.06% abundance for oak, but then it rose to 43.69 at the top layer percent abundance, and then at its top, it was 50.16% abundance. That's a big difference. So if you look at the middle layers, we can see that also at the bottom, there was no hickory pollen and there was no hemlock pollen. But at the end, there's 2 hemlock pollen grains. So hemlock was also increasing. Hemlock has increased from 0.92% abundance at the beginning to 15.86% abundance at the end. And hickory, even though it's not represented here because it was too small an amount to fit in the scale, it increased as well, starting at 0 and ending at 4.53% abundance.